Hello everyone, in today's video I'm going to be covering RetroStudio and telling you why I believe it's worth your time even if you don't have any interest or nostalgia for old Roblox. You may be unfamiliar with what RetroStudio even is. Is it some old version of Roblox Studio or an unofficial third-party version of old Roblox? Well, no. It's a Roblox game that replicates the experience of many different versions of old Roblox throughout the years, ranging from early 2009 to mid-2015. RetroStudio is basically Roblox within Roblox. The game has its own catalog, game page, profiles, avatar page, messages, and it even goes further with its own menu themes and menu music that you can change to your liking. But all of that stuff is just a cherry on top. It's time to talk about everything that makes this game truly special, starting with For most people, the main draw of RetroStudio will be the ability to play and create retro Roblox games by and for other people. Now there's many reasons one would want to play old Roblox, the obvious answer being nostalgia, but in the case of someone like me, it could just be to see how old Roblox was like. Although games like Super Nostalgia Zone are better for specifically reliving or emulating old Roblox, there's something special about how RetroStudio allows anyone to create and play retro games. It makes it feel more like its own platform, like how Roblox was then, and of course still is. The menu I talked about earlier really helped in that regard and added to that feeling even more. Those factors are what made me want to cover this game so badly. In RetroStudio, there's no monetary incentive to create games like in regular Roblox, which is good or bad depending on how you look at it. But I see it as a plus because games are more likely to be made because of passion or for fun instead of quick cash, like how it is in normal Roblox. Not to say passion projects or games made for fun don't exist on Roblox, but they're less common. However, this comes at the cost of games being lower quality on average than on regular Roblox, but this doesn't mean that they're necessarily bad. In fact, there's plenty of fun and well-made games. My personal favorites include Baldi's Retro Basics, Run, Cathedral in the Mountain, and there's many more I probably haven't even played yet. And before any of you people start, I'm not trying to pull in
old Roblox good, new Roblox bad.
RetroStudio absolutely isn't without its flaws. The 60 FPS lock it has is annoying and can't be fixed with Roblox FPS Unlocker. You can only change the sorting categories in the games page a few times before you have to wait a minute, which is pretty annoying, and the recreation of old Roblox controls are probably noticeably off to any people who've actually played during these time periods. The game also doesn't get a lot of players, which may not be too bad in the case of other games, but in a game like this when there's tons of games within the game, you'll definitely need way more players so you can fill the servers of the games. A lot of games I see have very little players, and even on the very front of the popular page you'll see games with as low as 6 players. Go even deeper and you'll see games with less than 10. Of course, most of those are just minor issues and are unlikely to ever hinder your enjoyment of RetroStudio all that much. Despite these, you can tell RetroStudio is a pretty high quality, well-made Roblox game that isn't getting the attention it deserves. Of course, RetroStudio isn't the only retro Roblox remake that deserves more attention. I'll list a few on screen here. Now, on to the next part of the video. I'm about to go on a massive tangent about video game preservation. This has relevance to the topic, but if you couldn't care less then just skip to 744. Alright, let's begin. If you haven't been living under a rock, you'd know that video game preservation has become a hot topic in recent years, and for good reason. As games get older, there are some that are inevitably going to be lost to time. This can be prevented by porting old games to modern platforms or making sure the platforms the games are available on stay maintained. However, most companies don't really care about the preservation of old games, so we're forced to pick up the slack instead. Roblox is similar, but also a bit of a unique case. It isn't a new game, but it's a game that's been getting updates for nearly 2 decades, and of course, the game is entirely different now compared to then, so it's a bit hard to say how Roblox should do preservation of their older versions. Now you may be wondering why game preservation matters so much. What's the point anyways? Well, if you just forget about games and stop trying to preserve them, it's likely that they'll be lost forever, which is bad for everyone. As of now, games like Super Nostalgia Zone and RetroStudio are pretty good ways of preserving old Roblox, but they can only do so to a limited extent because of Roblox updates possibly breaking them, or elements of Roblox's engine and UI that simply cannot be changed, and the fact that if something happens to Roblox itself, these games risk being lost as well. I don't think every last version of a game needs to be preserved in some way, as that would be far too much work, but just the ones with substantial differences between each other. Much more than just a major update or two, but years worth of massively game-changing content. It's complicated and can't be decided by a rule. It's more of a case-by-case type of deal, so I'll leave you guys to argue in the comments, since YouTube comments are always so nice and simple. And just in case anybody is a bit confused, I don't think old Roblox is some sort of sacred game that deserves to be preserved more than anything else because it's so good. Every game is worth preserving to at least some extent. Maybe some games are worth preserving more than others, but old Roblox isn't one of them. And there's more to the conversation than preserving old games at this moment, but what about preservation going forward? Preserving specific Roblox games is a lot more complicated. What would make a game worth preserving? How would we be able to preserve said games if Roblox itself shut down? It's a bit of a complex issue, once again without much of a concrete answer. Now, finally, the question you've all been waiting to be answered. Why do I bring up all of this garbage right here, right now? I bring up the topic of video game preservation in this video to show that games like RetroStudio are helping to preserve old Roblox in their own way, and I think it's a unique and interesting topic when it comes to something like this, and I don't see it discussed all too often. I don't think this game is some messiah here to save Retro-Roblox or something, or that it deserves a pass in some regards because of this. I think it would just be good food for thought and would bring something interesting to the discussion. Now with all of that out of the way, I'll get into my final thoughts. So after everything I've said, what are my final thoughts on RetroStudio? To summarize it all, it's a well-made Roblox game that's clearly had a lot of time and effort put into it, and it's worth your time if you're getting tired of modern Roblox games and need something a bit fresh, or just want to experience what old Roblox was like. This video took nearly a month to make and it was a massive pain trying to figure out the script, so it's time to plug to make this all worth it. If you somehow managed to enjoy 8 minutes of my rambling, a simple like and comment would be appreciated. Hopefully this video will be out by June 9th, which marks my 7th year of having a Roblox account. I didn't initially plan for this, but once it was around the 30th of May or 1st of June, I just decided to go for it. If it isn't, I guess my chronic procrastination has struck again. The reason it took so long for an actual video to come out in over 2 months is because in April I switched editors, and I've been trying to figure out how it works. And finally, last but not least, I just want to say, no.